Assalamu alaikum everyone, my name is Adil here from Nisba, and today we're going to have a look at Trading 212. So, who are Trading 212? What do they do? Can you even use it? Let's dive straight in. Now, Trading 212 was actually formed in 2004. Many people think it's a new company, but it's been around for quite a while. They are a Bulgarian company, and you might be thinking, well, is it safe to put my money in a company that's in a country that I've never visited or I don't know much about? Well, be rest assured, they are registered in the UK. They have a UK entity with a board of directors, and are also being regulated by the FCA. Now, what does that mean for you as a client? Now, when you are regulated by the FCA, there's quite a few rules that you have to abide by. One of the main ones, though, is around the money that you put into Trading 212. So if Trading 212 were to go bust, for example, your money would be held in a separate account so that it doesn't get tangled up in case of, covering the debts of Trading 212, for example. Secondly, you are also protected by the Financial Services Compensation Scheme. And so if the bank where your money is being held goes bust, again, you are protected up to £85,000. However, I want to make it very, very clear, when you invest into investment products inside of Trading 212 and they go down, of course, you're not going to be protected because that just comes with the investment risk. So let's jump straight into it. What can you do on Trading 212? Well, in simple terms, it is like a shopping app. It's called a brokerage account, but it's just a fancy word for an investment shopping site. Now, you can buy a few things on there. You can buy individual stocks. You can buy collections of stocks, otherwise known as equity funds. You can buy a whole range of haram things that we're not going to get into, like bonds and futures and all this sort of stuff. So we're just going to focus on the Sharia-compliant options within Trading 212. Now, when you sign up for Trading 212, there are actually 4 account types, and I'm going to try and break it down really nice and simply. So the first one is the invest account. Now, the invest account allows you to invest into anything really on the platform, whether it's an individual stock, a collection of stocks, or anything else. It is worth noting, though, that this is a taxable account. So any dividend income you make or capital gain that you make is going to be liable to tax. There is another account called a CFD account. This one is going to be completely haram because it's based on something that is not permissible in the first place. You have 2 ISA options. Now, ISA just stands for individual savings accounts, and these are tax wrappers that the government has created in the UK. So they are very specific to UK residents and citizens. Now, within the ISA, you have a stocks ISA and a cash ISA. The cash ISA is based purely on interest, so it's going to be completely impermissible, and we're not going to cover that in any more detail. Now we come on to the stocks ISA. This account is exactly the same as your invest account. The only difference is that the money that you earn in terms of your dividends and capital gains will be tax-free. Now, if I'm honest, if you are based in the UK, there is no reason to start using the invest account until you have used up your total allowance within the stocks ISA. There are some rules. So one of the main rules is, in a single tax year, you can only deposit up to £20,000 within your ISA allowance. Now, that ISA allowance is shared across different ISAs, and we're not going to get into that just now, but it's something to be aware of. So if you are someone who is investing less than £20,000 in a single year, and you've accepted that you want to invest into stocks and shares or funds, and you are happy to use a platform like Trading 212, there'd almost be no reason why you would do that inside of an invest account. It makes much more sense to go into the stocks ISA. So if you are based outside of the UK, or you are someone investing more than £20,000 in a single year, you might go for the invest account, and everything you do within inside of it is exactly the same. But for today's purposes, I'm going to be using the stocks ISA because that's the account type that I have access to at the moment, and I'm going to use a demo for that. When you come into Trading 212, you can see the different account types here. So you've got the stocks ISA, the invest account, the CFD account, and the cash ISA. And you'll see the money beside which one you have. So if you've opened up a Trading 212 account and you're not sure which account type you've opened, here's a great way to check. Just click on the top and see which one has the money next to it. So here you can see the money is next to the stocks ISA. So I'm just going to quickly show you how to navigate the page. Here it just shows you the account types. Top right hand corner, you'll get notifications. So these are any notifications regarding your own investments, any documents you might have downloaded, and then also you've got some social elements here because Trading 212 has some social elements where people might post some things, or maybe you interact with people's pies, and then you might get those notifications there. Up here, you'll get settings, and these are going to be regarding your notifications, so you can turn them on and off. And then we have a search bar where you can search for investments, and it's quite overwhelming, but useful to know where it is. And you also have these three little lines here. Now this is in effect quite important, and I'm just going to show you three things, okay, to bear in mind. Number one, manage funds. So this is going to be how you effectively deposit and withdraw money, so just check your payment details are in there are all correct. Number two, interest on cash. By default, this is turned off. In case you have accidentally turned it on, just make sure you go in here and you make sure you disable it, because you don't want to be earning any halal income. And number three, you have your history. Now this history is quite good because it will show you everything you've ever bought and sold. So if you ever need to download it for tax purposes, of course within the stocks ISA you don't need to do that, but if within the invest account you might. Or maybe you have an employer that wants to know what you're buying and selling, or for your own, I guess, general interest. You can see orders, dividends, transactions, interest. So if you want to, give any money out in case you've earned any interest. Home screen, if I'm honest, I personally don't spend too much time here because I'm not someone that's looking for investments and I'm going to try and judge it based on the timing. Of course, you might be interested, and you can look at some of their filters that they've got here. Where I do spend most of my time is on this Pie feature. Now here is where I will be able to do my actual investments, where I deposit my cash, and then where I want to sell my investments and withdraw my cash. Okay, so it's probably the most important part. If you scroll down, you can see different information. So for this year, you can see how much of that £20,000 allowance have you used inside this account. So here you can see 4,500, and there's a remaining balance that can be used up until the end of the tax year. You can also see how much money have you got in cash. And then finally, you can see how much have you got in investments. And the investments will be split across different pies if you have them. And we'll get onto pies in just a moment. Now, the first thing is how do you set up an account? Now, when you set up an account, you need to choose your country of residence, and then you need to add in all your details like verification details. One thing I just want to make note of is something called the W-8BEN form. So when you invest into a US stock, there is something called a withholding tax. Now, this will happen at the point of origin, so you will never actually see it. So what happens is if you get a dividend from Microsoft, for example, they will slash 30% of that and they will take it for themselves. Now, if you sign the W-8BEN form, you are saying that you have your country and the US have a treaty whereby you reduce that taxable amount. So it goes from 30% to 15%. So you want to make sure that you are signing it if you're in a country that has a treaty, and the UK has one. So if you're based in the UK, you know that you can sign it. So if you want to start investing, you can start with as little as £1. And to do that, you obviously need to put in some cash. So you can press the blue button here, or when you start, you'll see a invest button or start investing button. So here you have a few options. You can do it via bank transfer, instant bank transfer, card, or Apple or Google Pay. It's worth noting, after £2,000 of deposits total, whether you do it in one sum or gradually, there will be a fee if you use these two types of depositing, so card or pay. If I'm honest, there's no reason why you'd ever have to pay these fees. It takes only a few moments to learn how to do the instant bank transfer and the bank transfer. There's an app called TrueLayer. So once you start, basically, it'll just help you, and you start going back and forth between, if I just show you, you just select your account, for example, and then it will start sending you back and forth to connect the account. And then your account will be connected, and then it's super easy from then on out. So please don't pay unnecessary fees. So now you've deposited some cash, and if you scroll down, you'll be able to see cash. So over here, for example, I have £12.84 that I can go and use and invest. Now you might be wondering, what can I invest into? So I'm going to break it down for you really, really simply. Number one, you can invest into individual stocks from around the world, whether it's Microsoft, Apple, or whoever it might be. Number two, you can invest into collections of stocks. These are called equity funds. So just think a pick and mix bag of different stocks. And there's different ways in which this pick and mix bag is made up. It could be based on a geographical location. It could be based on the whole globe. Also, it can be based on an industry. However, there are no Sharia-compliant options for industry-specific equity funds. So it's worth noting. You can also invest into commodities like gold and silver. You can also invest into something called a Sukuk fund. Now, this is an Islamic version of a bond. If you want to know more about Sukuk funds, you can just go ahead and Google it. And property funds, otherwise known as REITs, so a real estate investment trust. If you are well versed with searching, you can start searching. And typically people will search by the ticker, otherwise known as the symbol. However, for most newbies, they won't know that. So there's a few things you can do. Number one, you can scroll down to the bottom and you can look at all of the individual stocks, if you know that you want a particular stock from a country, or you can look at all the ETFs. ETF just means exchange traded fund, and you can select on which category you want. So equity, commodity, fixed income, specialty, mixed allocation. So I just want to draw your attention to something very, very quickly. So here you'll see, in terms of equity funds, remember these are just your pick and mix bags of different stocks. Trading 212 has 3,000 options on here. So how the hell do you go about choosing one? Well, lucky for you as Muslims, only maybe less than 1% of these will be Sharia compliant. Same for fixed income, same for commodity. There's only really a handful of options you have as a Muslim. Now, how do you go and find those Sharia compliant options? Well, we built a nice resource for you. So if you go to nisba.co.uk and you click on tools and you'll see funds, here we have a list of nearly all of the Sharia compliant funds. And they will be spanning across the different categories, otherwise known as asset classes. So if you go to asset class, think of this as category of investment. So you can go for equity, which would be your stocks, commodity, gold and silver, sukuk, your Islamic bond, and REIT, which is like your property. So if we go to equity, for example, oh, look, there's something here called the HSBC MSCI Europe Islamic Screened. So many letters, UCITS ETF. Well, okay, let's say I'm happy with that and I want to invest in this European fund. I can take the ticker, copy, and I can go back to Trading 212, and I can search for that with that ticker. And here it comes up, the European Islamic Screened. So that's kind of how you might search for things. If you want to go down the individual stock route, recognize that that is obviously a high risk investment, because when you invest into one company, the performance of the stock can go up or down quite severely, or can be quite volatile. But if you are interested in a particular company and you want to check if they're Sharia compliant, you just type, let's say you're interested in Microsoft. Okay, Microsoft, there's a stock. Okay, I can either buy it in dollars or I can buy it in euros. Now I have no idea if this is going to be Sharia compliant or not. But what I can do is I can use platforms like Musafa and I can then check whether it's Sharia compliant or not. Super easy. So I just search. Okay, thanks very much. Microsoft. Oh, not halal. Can't invest in it. Okay, so that's one way that you can check individual stocks. You can also check funds in here. And if you want a super compiled list, we have them on our website. So those are a few ways to check. Now, how do I actually go ahead and buy and sell something? So let's go ahead and buy. So I'm going to buy some Microsoft stock, and I'm going to put in, I'm just going to show you that you could start with such a small amount. I'm going to buy with £2. I know it's haram, but inshallah Allah will forgive me because it's just to teach you guys. Now what's happening here? So I'm buying it at the price that I can see now. The value I'm paying is £2. This is the number of shares that I'm getting, because the nice thing about Trading 212 is you can do fractional share buying. So I'm buying a portion of a share. There's no commission. Jazakallah khair. Trading 212, thank you so much. However, there is an FX charge, so a foreign exchange fee, because it's priced in dollars. Of course, they're going to have to charge me because I put pounds into my account. Trading 212 takes the pounds, converts it into dollars, and then uses dollars to buy the Microsoft stock. So they charge me for that service. So I'm not going to get a whole £2 worth of stock. So let's see. Oh, I did it. How exciting. You bought. Okay, so now I own a bit of Microsoft. So if I go back to my Pie page, scroll down, I can see here my £2 Microsoft share. Amazing. And then you can start looking at the performance of it since you purchased it. So you can see, well, you can see the performance of it in general. So 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, max. Okay, you can see what's happened. So in 2016, or since 2016, it's gone up 804%. Crazy. You could have retired. So that's buying an individual stock. What I really want to show you is this pie feature, because a pie is super powerful. A pie is like a combination of investments. And think of it this way. Let's say you want to invest £500 a month into a range of things. You want to buy individual stocks. You want to buy equity funds. Maybe you want to buy some gold funds, and maybe you would want to buy some real estate funds. Oh, and sukuk funds. And rather than each month you go and you search, you find it, you choose how much you want to buy, you add money, it's super long. What you can do is you can create a pie. So if you can create a pie and you can create the split in terms of how much you want to put inside of it, then you can make it automated, and you can also do an auto invest. So here it comes up with all a bunch of things. And I want to make it very clear, everything that I'm selecting is not going to be financial advice. I'm just picking some of the most well-known things. I'm going to do one of each. So I'm going to do Apple stock, because obviously it's super famous. Apple. And I'm going to press the plus sign. There you go. It's going to start getting added to my pie here. I also want a whole fund. I went to the NISBA website, and the first one I found was the European fund. up 17.8%. Not basing this based on performance, I'm just picking the first one. Past performance is not indicative of future performance. You know what, just for that, I'm going to choose a different one. I'm going to go and buy the worst performing one. No, I don't think that's available on Trading 212. Let's buy a world fund, iShares, ISD, I want it in pounds. So ISWD, ISWD. Okay, perfect. iShares, MSCI, World Islamic UCITS. Perfect. I also want to buy a gold fund. Okay, I'm going to go back to the NISPA website. I know they have gold on there because these brothers are top notch, mashallah. Commodity, oh, there's only a few. Right, I'm just going to go for any random one. So RMAU. Now, it is worth noting, not all gold funds will be permissible. It has to be physically held, and you have to check that there is a Sharia-compliant certificate. We've obviously checked that these ones do, but there are many on there. If I just type in the word gold, you'll see how much will come up. Because you can buy a gold mining company, you can buy gold funds, but the chances are a lot of these won't be Sharia-compliant. Okay, so just be mindful of that. All right, so I've got an individual stock, I've got a world fund, I've got a gold fund, I want a property fund. So let's go down to REIT. Oh, there's only one. Does it have it? Great, perfect. Remember, this is like a shopping app, so not every item can be found in every shop. Okay, and then finally, I want to add in a Sukuk fund. So I'm just going to type in the word Sukuk, just to show you how you can search in a few different ways. All right, I'm just going to pick the first one. Perfect. So I've now got 5 investments. And it's going to automatically split up my investments. It doesn't have any clever logic. It just divides it equally. So it's going to say every time I put money in, it's going to split it up between Apple, World Fund, Gold Fund, etc. Now you can now decide to change it. So on Trading 212, you have this toggle feature. So you can decide if you want to make it. Now let's say I'm just going to leave it as it is, for example, just so you don't think that this is a great way to follow. So I've built this custom pie. Here you'll also see some model pies. Now these are built by large institutions like multi-billion pound institutions like BlackRock or Vanguard. Chances are every single one of them will be haram. And then you have these social ones where people on Trading 212 have created their own pies. Some of the most famous ones are like the dividend pies and stuff like that. Okay, my custom pie. I'm happy with it. I've got 5 things in there. Next. You have 2 choices. Auto-invest, so every month or every day or every week, whatever you choose, you can put money in and it'll just take it from your account. Or you can do it manually. For today's purposes, I'm just going to do it manually based on the free funds that I have. Again, the toggle feature. Now this is taking the money from, it's going to look at what I have in cash. So let's see what I have. £10.84, wonderful. So each investment is going to get £2. Perfect. I'm going to give it a name. So Adil's really stupid pie. Lovely. And now we're ready to go. Commission free, share value. Okay, it's going to leave me with 4p cash because it can't use all of it based on the equal split. So what's going to happen is now it's going to actually execute. So it's going to go ahead and start buying those shares. Okay, it bought the Apple one. Great. The rest of them may not go ahead now because I think they're all on the London Stock Exchange, which is really dumb. Poor timing from me. But it's just going to sit there. Tomorrow morning, it will come up and it will show invested. And then it will see in my pie, you'll see it in my really stupid pie. So if you want to check now what's inside of it, you can go to your holdings. And you can see at the moment, it's mostly still in cash because it hasn't actually been invested. The cool thing is you can actually start doing some deeper dive in here if you want to. And I'm just going to show you this very lightly. So if I, for example, want to see what is inside, like people always talk about equity funds. What is it? So I've told you it's just a collection of stocks. So here I bought a portion of Apple. If I had enough money and I kept buying Apple, I could technically own the whole of the Apple company and I could decide on which way to steer the business. That's what happens when you invest into the stock market. Now, when you invest into an equity fund, you are buying a small portion of many different stocks all in one go. So it saves you the hassle. There is a fee for that service, but it saves you a lot of the admin. Now, I want to know when I invest into a world fund, where is my money actually going? So here, for example, if we scroll down, you can see the performance. So what's been going on in terms of the last year, 3 years, 5 years. What's the kind of 1 day volatility? You can see there is some movement in a single day. Over a course of a year, quite a lot of volatility. Okay, it can move around quite a lot. How much are you going to get in terms of dividend? Some companies will pay a dividend, not all of them. There is so much here. We could spend hours just on the details, but I just want to show you this. So the fund allocation will show you which companies are inside of the fund. You hear the word fund, think pick a mixed bag. I want to see all. So it shows you, here are the top 10 holdings. 15% is in Microsoft. 4.93% is in Tesla. 2.4%. Adil, you told me Microsoft was haram. That's where it gets really, really nice and confusing. There are different ruling bodies, and so it might be permissible in a different ruling body. Sector. Which sectors are they investing into? Predominantly into tech, industrials, okay? Countries. Well, as you can see here, a large proportion of it is in the US. So even though it's a world fund, it's quite skewed towards the US. And then it's split amongst the rest of the countries. If you go back and you want to see more information, you can actually click here on the 3 dots and you can see instrument details. Now we're getting super technical. And there's something called the key information document, and it will pop out. And if you want to have a look, it's quite interesting. You can have a read and you can see, okay, here's my iShares World or something ETF. This is how they rank it in terms of their risk and reward. Worth reading. We have done a lot. We've talked about the different account types. One is going to be taxable, one is going to be not. The other two are impermissible. We've talked about how to set up your account and signing the W-8BEN form. We've also talked about the things that you can buy on a brokerage platform, whether it's individual stocks, whether it's commodity funds, whether it's sukuk funds. Remember, the majority on there will be impermissible. You need to make sure you do your due diligence in terms of buying Sharia-compliant options. We've also talked about how to buy and sell. I didn't show you how to sell actually. Let me sell my Microsoft stock. So you can see here, buy, sell. Again, you have the slidey feature. Do you want to sell all of it, part of it? I want to sell all of it. You have a bunch of buttons up here, which are a bit technical and not necessary for your everyday investor. But I'm just going to sell it now. Okay, great. This is really dumb because I'm losing foreign exchange fees in and out, but this is just for you guys so you can learn. Sell, sold it. Okay, great. It's going to come back into my cash. £2 back in my cash. Wonderful. So that's the nice thing. When you use a brokerage platform and you invest in the public markets, the liquidity is fast, providing the trading hours are open. So you've seen that I couldn't necessarily sell or buy something in the stock exchange for the UK for now because it's after 4 p.m. and they've shut. And I wouldn't be able to do it on the weekends or bank holidays, etc. So Trading 212 is a cool platform. There's a lot you can do. The nice thing is building your own pies because every month now I can just put my money in and forget about it. And that's it really. I'm sure I could have spent another couple of hours on here just going through different things, but hopefully you've learned some stuff along the way. Leave me a comment if there's anything that you would have liked to have seen or anything you disagree with or anything I could have done better. Jazakallah khair. See you all soon.